What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening with the overall market moving forward and big factors that will affect how Tesla ends up moving. Not to mention Jerome Powell's speech on Mondays. The guy's going to cause some interesting moves as well. But before I break down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention two things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, and the offer ends in just 17 days. Anyways, guys, I just want to note that I'm actually recording this video on Saturday during the afternoon, and the reason for that is because I'm going to be very busy on Sunday due to me attending a wedding. I'm not going to be available on Sunday to record any videos, so this video is being pre-recorded. So I may not account for every single piece of news for Tesla and the markets because new things could come out on Sunday, which I may not be available to record. However, I'm still going to talk about technicals and some very important things for Monday, especially as we have Jerome Powell's speech. So I'll talk about that real quick before I break down these charts. As far as Tesla goes, however, just notes that we had a nice little rebound on Friday as Tesla saw some buyers defend it. We actually went down to my target very close to 231 before coming back up. So I called out 231 and I said if we lost that, we'd turn more bearish. And if we held that, we'd look for a bounce. And lo and behold, we bounced perfectly at this 50 EMA. So with that happening, Tesla is now once again in an interesting trend. But looking at the fact that we kind of dumped near the end of the day and we closed below our 20 EMA makes me suspect there might be a little bit of a dip coming before it attempts to rebound. But even if the market gets these dips, right, as we have SPY forming kind of like a double top, we're seeing something similar on ES. There are signals that show the market may dip a little bit approaching Jerome Powell's speech, but I can't promise anything once the guy starts speaking. So approaching Powell's speech, we could be a little bit more bearish, but once Jerome Powell opens his mouth, you never know what's going to happen. The market gets very manipulated when the guy starts speaking, so you want to be very, very careful. So the last times this guy spoke, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, he caused the market to pump like crazy. The last times he spoke, right? He was very ambiguous with his words. He was very careful, and I have a feeling he's going to do the same thing again. So this time when he speaks, I think the market may be kind of choppy. And then once he finishes his speech, or once he's like almost done with it, generally the market makes a big move. So we'll have to see what the move happens to be. But just remember, the last times he spoke, he did cause upside in the markets. So we'll see how things go. I am concerned about one thing, and that's the fact that PPI data was not very good. And if he does account for that, he could say something different. So we'll see how things go. But it all depends on what the guy says, and that could be a little bit hard to predict sometimes. So just be ready for this around 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Monday. So we'll see what Jerome Powell causes. Also, for other pieces of news, just note that we have some very important earnings for the week. Mondays when we have Goldman Sachs and BlackRock, not to mention First Bank after the market closes. Tuesdays when we have Bank of America, not to mention Morgan Stanley and Charles Schwab announcing earnings. Wednesdays when we have Johnson Johnson and United, and then Thursdays we have TSMC, Nokia, and Netflix. Netflix is going to be one of the biggest ones for the week. Now, let me just note that for Monday, we have Goldman Sachs and BlackRock. This will cause a big move in the finance sector, especially before the market ends up opening. So if you're playing stocks like SoFi or such, you want to be kind of careful knowing that this is happening. And this may cause a big move in the markets. Goldman Sachs especially will have a big effect on this, especially BlackRock too. So we'll see what the reaction is to these earnings. Will we see a little dip first and then a bounce, or will we see the opposite? We'll just have to wait and see. As far as Tesla goes, we're seeing some very, very interesting arguments being made. Looking at Tesla's forward price to earnings ratio compared to its peers, Tesla has a very, very high one. Many analysts are saying that Tesla is overvalued. It's worth less than what it's actually sharing its price at, and different factors like that. Other analysts are saying that they're still very bullish on Tesla nonetheless. So they're very, very mixed views on Tesla. But ever since we got that negative news that came out from Bloomberg about Tesla's robotaxi event being delayed, we've seen a lot of negative news coming out. I personally don't really care if that ends up being the case, because at the end of the day, guys, even if it does affect Tesla for the short term, the long term is still very bright, and the robotaxi event is going to lead to a lot of upside later on down the line, of course. Now, other analysts are saying some things which I don't really agree with. I want to kind of account for this. They're saying that the robotaxi is not going to be scaled until 2030. In my personal opinion, we can't truly say that unless we see what progress Tesla makes and what they announced during the robotaxi event. Because if Tesla announces something that shows that they're way more ahead than what these analysts are suspecting, this could actually help them scale the robotaxi much sooner than expected. And that could be a lot more bullish, just like what Kathy Wood has been talking about. On top of this, Tesla is starting to sell software range, which basically unlocks for recent Model Y RWD, which is pretty cool right over here. This is once again an energy boost software unlock, which is very, very useful. It could actually help a lot of people in different ways. This could also help a lot more growth coming out. So the energy boost you could add for the software update will actually help, which could add an additional like 30 to 50 miles, which could be very, very cool. It actually helps the car become a lot more efficient. So For people who are interested in this, they can actually do this on the Tesla app for the Model Y. This will be very useful for people who like longer ranges and actually use it for a lot of things. It is going to be kind of expensive for some people out there, but if they're interested in this, it could actually be worth it. So we'll see how things go. On top of all this, I also want to mention that there's a YouTuber known as Mr. Beast who has these videos, and he is basically giving away 10 Cybertrucks in one of his videos. It's part of a challenge. I just wanted to call this out because it's very cool. It's also just giving Tesla a lot more exposure, a lot more excitement, a lot more advertising and everything. So very, very cool stuff in my personal opinion. Wish the best for everyone involved in that as well. As far as Tesla goes, we had 155 million in volume. So volume is still very strong for Tesla. There's still a lot of buyers and exposure for the share price. Short volume is also dipping just a little bit as Tesla's holding up quite well. And then going down here, Citigroup gave Tesla a neutral rating. UBS just downgraded Tesla to a sell rating, which is not the best of news. So we're seeing lots of neutral ratings and some sell ratings at these high levels. The price ratio is dipping a little bit as Tesla's it lost a little bit of strength on Friday and also on Thursday compared to how much it was running during the earlier days of the week. Also, just notes that Mondays have a tendency to be in green about 53% of the time historically, and we tend to see more volatility around 11 o'clock a.m. and also during the second to last hour of the day. So just note all of that, at least when it comes to your trading and such. So what do I see for Tesla moving forward? What is my opinion for the market and the charts? Honestly, guys, I'm a little bit concerned about one thing. We did close below our 20 EMA on Tesla, which is a little bit of a sign of weakness. We also have this tough resistance at this 250 area to be watching for. If Tesla could break 250, look for 2.5, 2.5, then 255. And if we end up failing to hold above our 20 EMA around 248, we'll be dipping all the way back down towards 245 and then 242.5. All right, so watch those levels carefully. What's looking more probable? Because we closed below our 20 EMA, I think that there might be a little dip coming to Tesla to the mid 240s, and we'll have to see if we hold up over here. There might be a small dip coming before we try to consolidate just for a bit, but it's going to be very minor. And then whether or not that continues depends on Jerome Powell's speech. So once this guy opens his mouth, Tesla could just dip a little bit and try to rebound after that, after hitting some key Fibonacci retracement areas such as the 244 area. Or, it depends on Jerome Powell. Could he cause a rug pull? We'll just have to wait and see. But Tesla looks like it might dip a little bit, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get depending on Jerome Powell's speech. For SPY, we have a nice double top, like structure. And this is actually looking a little bit weaker for SPY. So we had like a pump. We went a little bit higher than we dumped. We had a pump, went a little bit higher. Then that means we could be dumping back down after this liquidity grab right over here. So this suggests that SPY on Monday, if we fail to hold 560, if we don't hold above that, to go back up to 561.7. If that doesn't happen, we're going to likely be coming all the way down to 557 to retest our 20 EMA. I think that's more probable looking at the technicals, so we'll be watching the levels just to be safe. But just know that from a technical standpoint, we favor downside. I think that 557 is looking more favorable, so I favor a move to the downside a little bit more. Now, just because I'm saying downside could be coming does not mean it's going to last forever. Jerome Powell's speech could change everything, so we'll see if we get a drop in a bounce or not. That depends on his speech as well. ES is showing us the exact same thing. We have kind of like a double top. You know how we like pumped, went a little bit higher than dumped. We pumped, went a little bit higher than dumped. So now ES looks like it's going to be testing its 20 EMA soon. This 56, 54 area, and then we could go lower depending on different factors. But that's something else that's worth noting. For Bitcoin, we're trying to push a little bit higher, but make sure you watch this resistance at this 58,000 area. 59,000 area. If we do reject here, we'll be looking for a move back down towards our key EMAs. So I'm going to be looking for basically the 50 EMA around 58,000. If we break through that, we're going to be looking for basically 60,000. My gut tells me we might be retesting 58,000 and just looking for a reaction from there. For a few more, we also have the triple Q. The triple Q is not looking that great. We actually look a little bit more bearish, technically speaking, because we had a high all the way up towards the all-time high in the 500s. Then we came back down to establish a lower high between Thursday and Friday. So we had this high, we came down, we established a lower high, and we're kind of rejecting, forming a bearish structure. So this is favoring some downside going into the start of the week. So to be bullish, you want to hold above 495.29. If we hold above that, we could be pushing higher towards 498. If we fail to hold 495.25, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 492.5, then eventually 490. My gut tells me we're going to be dipping down to, I would say, the lower 490s, all the way down in this range. But then we could bounce depending on Jerome Powell's speech. But I do see a little dip coming as the most likely possibility. Once again, if we do break 495, we could turn back to bullish, but it's looking less favorable. We are favoring downside a little bit more from a technical standpoint, then we could bounce depending on how factors go. For Aapl is kind of consolidating at this 230 area. Generally, we do love to test our 20 EMA, the green line all the way down here. So we'll see. Aapl might actually retest 228. We'll see if we get a bounce or not off of that. But that's looking more favorable in my personal opinion. If we lose 228, we turn more bearish. And if we break past 232, we're more bullish. We might touch 228, then try to bounce depending on how some factors go. Once again, guys, as far as Tesla goes, like I said earlier, make sure you watch this key level of resistance at the 250 area, and we'll see how the consolidation goes. Could be a little dip coming before we see an attempt to rebound, depending on Jerome Powell's speech. Once again, be prepared for that, and we'll see how things go. We'll also see what Jerome Powell has to say. Now I'm just going to focus on the rest of these and just do a speed run for the rest of the video. So bear with me if I'm going a little bit fast. I'm trying to be kind of quick right here as well. So for Palantir, we look a little bit more bullish from a technical standpoint. Look at 28.5 to be tested. We might push a little bit higher, and we'll see if we get a rejection or not, but this favors a little bit more upside. But we'll see what Jerome Powell's speech causes after that, but technicals show a little bit more upside. Supermicro also has a little bit more upside, likely coming in for 920. If we break this, look for 940. If you reject it, we're coming back down to 889, and we'll have to see what the reaction happens to be. For Rivian, we have a nice kind of like cup-like structure trying to rebound. We watch to see if we're forming like a cup and handle or not. Make sure you watch resistance at 19. The last time we hit this, we did kind of like reject. So I think this is going to be some tough resistance. And we're at risk of coming back down towards previous resistance. This is also very, very close to our key Fibonacci retracement area. So I think that we're going to be retesting our 0.236 retracement or very close to the 17 range. I favor a little bit of downside for Rivian, just a temporary little dip towards 17.5, if not 17. And we'll see what kind of reaction we get from there. SoFi is trying to rebound from a technical standpoint. We look bullish. It looks like it wants to go all the way up towards 7.2. However, I can't promise that as it also depends on the bank earnings. We have a nice double bottom leg structure. So this favors 7.2, and we'll see if we end up getting that reaction or not. But just know it also depends on the bank earnings. The IWM Russell 2000 looks a little bit more bullish to me. We're kind of consolidating right over here. The trend is more bullish. We'll see if we get a little consolidation right over here between 212 and 214. I think we might consolidate a bit, then we may break out later on, but the chart is still bullish overall. For AMD, we're on a nice uptrend right here, but we are going to likely retest our 20 EMA after getting this rejection on Friday. So look for a test of 178.83, and we'll see if we get a bounce or not. But watch for a little bit of a dip, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For ARM, we also have this support currently at 179, and we have resistance all the way up here towards 184. It's a little bit tough right here, so we'll just have to see how this reacts. But I think we might retest 179, then try to rebound, so watch for that very carefully. For Coinbase, it's downtrending. We had this high here, we came down, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, back and forth and back and forth. So I think what's going to happen is we might go a little bit higher, but technicals show a little rejection that could be coming. So look for a pop towards 220, then a rejection back down to 215 as the most likely possibilities. To be bullish, you want to break past 222, but that's looking less likely. So I favor a little bit of a downside move is looking more favorable. For Amazon kind of rejected off its very, very key resistance at 200, and we failed to hold above our 50 EMA. To be bullish on Amazon, I want to see it break past 195.6 and 196.8. If we break through those, we could turn back up. But because we rejected so far, it's looking less favorable, and it's actually favoring a move back down to 192. So we failed to break the resistance on Friday. We kind of rejected a bit, so it favors kind of like popping and dropping to 192. I find that that's to be a little bit more favorable. For Meta, look at 497 as our key support. If we lose this, we're going to be tipping all the way down towards 494 and then 490. And if we hold this, we're going to be looking for a rebound back up to about 504, then 508. I think 497 is the key level, so watch that for a big test tomorrow. If we hold 497, we can rebound. If we lose that, we're going to be tipping all the way down to about 494, and even lower levels like the 480s. So we'll see. Watch 497 as key support. We're barely holding this right now, so we'll see how it goes. Microsoft lost support at the 50 EMA and kind of rejected off that. So this is favoring downside and a move all the way down towards basically 450. But if that fails, we're going all the way down to 446. Microsoft looks a little bit more bearish to me, and this could actually contribute to the QQQ slowing down. Google is kind of rejecting. We failed to hold above 187, so this is favoring a technical move to this imbalance towards 185. This is looking a little bit more bearish to me from a technical standpoint. To be bullish, you want to break past 187. We haven't done so yet, so this favors downside. GameStop is also trying to rebound a little bit. It's trying to push hard. We want to see it to test 26.5. If that breaks, we're going all the way up to 27.5. It might go a little bit higher to 26.5, so watch for that as resistance. And then AMC is just consolidating right over here around this 5.25 area, so it's not really doing much. May continue to do so, so we'll just have to see how things go. For DJT, we're trying to rebound a bit. Make sure you watch 31.85 as resistance. We'll have to see what kind of reaction we get, especially with some convention coming up. So we might see a little bit more upside. So see if we break 31.85. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a breakout. Watch 31.85 and see if we reject or not. I think we're going to test that, and we'll see how things go. The VIX is still very indecisive, so give this some time. It's not really giving us much information. It's still completely range bound. The 10-year Treasury yield is on a bit of a downtrend. We'll see what Jerome Powell's speech causes for that. And then the dollar is at key support at 104. If Jerome Powell causes a rug pull, if the market does get some kind of rug pull depending on different factors, 104 is where the dollar could bounce off of, and that does have some merit to actually give us a bearish thesis. But if we end up losing 104, maybe we kind of like bounce temporarily off this, and the market will likely see a little rejection temporarily. But then we'll see if we get a big rejection after Jerome Powell's speech and we lose 104. If that happens, then yes, the dollar could end up turning more bearish, and that could actually lead to more upside for the markets. This kind of looks like a double top, but you never know. We did actually bounce off 104 before. We actually bounced off this like 3-4 times. So we'll see. We're at some key support in the dollar, and then we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get. Anyways, that is it for my video. I want to thank you all so much for listening. Tesla is once again holding up decently. We could reject a little bit, see a temporary little dip on Monday. Then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. Don't forget, Jerome Powell speaks tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll see what the reaction is. And with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you guys soon on the next one, and peace out.